All right, got it. All right, we're good to go. And Amanda's coming in, perfect timing.
Mhm.
I'll wait till she's fully on board before I go through the spiel.
Mhm.
Hi, Amanda.
Hey, Norm, sorry I'm late.
No, you're fine. We're gonna start now. So perfect timing on your part.
Good.
All right. So I'm Norm Corbin. I'm the chair of the Historic District Commission. This open meeting of the Historic District Commission is being conducted pursuant to Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, an act relative to extending certain COVID-19 measures adopted during the state of emergency, signed into law June 16, 2021. This meeting will be conducted via remote participation. No in-person attendance by members of the public will be permitted. In order to mitigate the transmission of the COVID-19 virus, the town of Northborough has been advised and directed by the Commonwealth to suspend public gatherings. And as such, the governor's order suspends the requirement of the open meeting law to have all meetings in a publicly accessible physical location. All members of this committee are allowed and encouraged to participate. The order allows our committee to meet entirely remotely, so long as reasonable public access is afforded so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. The public is encouraged to follow along using the posted agenda unless the chair notes otherwise. Members of the public who wish to view the live stream of this meeting may do so by going to Northborough Remote Meetings on the YouTube via the link listed on the agenda. Enabling public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. This meeting will not feature public comment. All right, we got that out of the way. Let's see. Mr. Smith, thanks for joining us.
Yes.
Mhm.
All right, Julianne's here too. We got a full group. Why don't we start off with the agenda? So we had the prior meeting minutes. Thank you, Mr. Swanson, for putting those meeting minutes together. I sent them out. Has everybody had a chance to look at them?
Yep.
Yes.
Are there any corrections or comments that need to be made?
Just one
No.
quick one. Under old business, Carter Brennan. I just want to confirm the spelling of the last name
That's funny. I thought that too.
because I thought they said Brennan with an O.
All right, I'll look that up. And I'll edit accordingly. That's the car of Brandon, isn't it? Brandon? How is it spelled in the?
It's spelled Brennan, and for some reason I wrote down ON.
All right, I know Carter. I'll cross-check my.
I think for some reason I thought it was Brannon because I asked if he was related to Dave Brannon, who was the owner.
I know who he is. I'll just
Okay.
confirm the correct spelling.
Thanks.
That's easy to do, and then I will. So other than that, with that correction, is there anybody want to make a motion to accept it with that correction?
So moved.
Second.
All right.
Second.
It's second by Mr. Smith. So
Yeah.
We'll start. I'm going through what I'm looking at here for the cast of characters. We'll start with Millie,
Aye.
Bob,
Aye.
Mr. Swanson,
Aye.
Leslie,
Aye.
Amanda,
Aye.
Mr. Smith,
Aye.
and I vote aye. So I've got everybody here. Mr. Reardon, you're the alternate, right? Yeah, okay.
Yes, sir.
So that passed unanimously. Thank you for that. Old business, historic preservation plan. I got the document now. I don't know if you've seen it, but there's a small article in the Community Advocate. So now we've covered all of the contacts we wanted to make, letting people know that historic preservation plan is available for anybody who's interested. So it's in the newspaper, hard copies at town hall, hard copies at the senior center, hard copies at the library.
So Norm, did you mention the TNG article as well?
I didn't put a TNG article on.
I saw a TNG article on White Cliffs yesterday.
Yeah, but this is
Yeah.
not White Cliffs. This I'm talking about the preservation plan.
Oh, I'm sorry.
You're jumping the gun, Leslie.
Sorry.
Stay focused. Stay focused. All right. That's the preservation plan. I haven't contacted the owners of historic homes. There were 4 us I was planning on contacting. I've been a little distracted lately. Other topics come up. So back Bernadette, although Leslie said she may contact one of the owners. Is that something you're still interested in doing, Leslie?
Well, I thought we were going to discuss what the best approach was. I'm not sure me
Okay.
being the one to approach them is the best. Are you
Alright.
talking about
You're talking
the,
about the Church Street property.
yeah, that's,
We're
I
going
thought,
up for sale. So we can talk about it now. It's actually part of this, it's this topic. So do you mind filling us in, Leslie? What?
yeah, so
Uh-huh.
Jane Maney died about just over a year ago, or just under a year ago, actually. And the house at Church Street was owned by her, and she has three kids. Sandy Farrell, who she and her brother Paul own Northborough Oil, and then a third son or third kid, if you want to call it. So there are 3 offspring, but as far as I know, they are planning to sell the house. I haven't heard anything to the effect that they're planning to keep the house. So I was just wondering if maybe, since Norm and I had met with Jane and her granddaughter Allison 3.5 years ago, specifically to discuss preservation, and she did seem potentially interested, I thought maybe it would make sense for us to touch base with the family just to see.
So how, here we go. So that would, just for recollection, it's the big yellow house on Church Street that has there was a tree farm there in the past. And they were one of the 4 that had some interest in possible preservation options for the property. We were looking at the house for preservation. There's maybe some potential for the land, but that one doesn't involve us. So the question is, should we approach the family at this point and just let them know that if they want to preserve that beautiful antique, probably one of the most historical homes in town, we would help them hold their hands through the process? Or should we wait until the house is sold and then approach the owners? I think that's kind of the logic, right, Leslie?
I guess, I mean, you have a better sense for this, Norm, than I do in terms of what options are for what kind of impact it would have on resale. And I guess I just wanted to throw it out for conversation. We had talked about bringing up the old letter and maybe just approaching them that way instead of, just sending another letter with the sort of the historical context of meeting with Jane a few years ago, and maybe approaching it that way with, a personal follow-up if we don't get a response or something like that. I would tend to probably go that way. I feel a little uncomfortable, honestly, if I'm to be the one, because of a personal relationship that I have with one of the family members. So,
Well, it's not on my current agenda for sure for me. So if somebody would like, the idea of just reminding them that this is a I wouldn't push this topic at all, but I would like maybe somebody could just remind them that this is an opportunity if they want to consider, at least to think about and get back to us and say yes or no, or hold on, whatever. Historic district, to put it on the historic district, we'll be lucky. It has to be a voting at town meeting, so it would not be till a year from now. It would be next April. That's the timing for that. Preservation restrictions can be done quicker. They do have to be cleared through the Mass Historical Commission, and there seems to be a huge bottleneck of anything going into the Mass Historical Commission right now. So that would probably also be that kind of a time frame. I'm not sure I understand. Since you know the people and you know the practices, Leslie, I guess I would have thought that you would have felt comfortable. But if you don't feel comfortable, that's fine too.
It feels, to me, it feels like an imposition. Since we have the letter, I guess I would propose starting with a letter as a follow-up, attaching the previous letters, just for historical context, just a very brief letter, just, condolences on, Jane's death, and just wanted to. She was interested a few years ago. Would you be interested in, discussing it again or something like that? So I would be more comfortable doing it that way than personal phone call at this point. To be
I
honest
would
with
have
you,
done it with a phone call, absolutely, through the mail with a letter, absolutely. If you draft that letter, I'll be willing to sign the letter, but that will be my effort, and I get in the mail, but that'll be my effort on that particular topic.
what are other people's thoughts on it? Whether we should even be doing this?
I think it's a good idea to follow up, since it is an opportunity perhaps to put some preservation restrictions on it now, as opposed to.
Yeah.
At least get the bug in their ear. I mean, are they strict about keeping it a house? As long as we know they don't want to tear it down, then I guess that's the most important thing. If they're only going to look for someone that's going to buy it to live in it.
Yeah, I have no idea. No,
Yeah.
what the plans are. I'd be surprised, because it is such a historic resource. I'd be surprised if they would
Wouldn't
want
keep
to see it demolished. But it's
Yeah.
also, you've got an estate that's clearing out and multiple offspring and differing opinions. Sometimes the quickest, easiest way is and I have no idea what's going to happen or what.
It's the first person. Yeah, exactly.
I don't have direct contact. I haven't been in contact for at least a year. So with any of the kids. So
What was the original letter sent to Jane about? Oh,
Norm and I actually met with Jane and her granddaughter Allison. So we actually went to the house. This was a couple months before COVID. And we went to the house and she gave us a tour, which was pretty fun to have her walk us around the house. And then Norm just, described what the options were and left a letter with some of the options and some literature.
I'd say send a letter again.
Okay, I can draft something.
We have the old letter. I can pull it up if you want to read it, but the letter really just said there's two opportunities here. One is a local historic district, if you're interested in that type of preservation, and the other option is a preservation restriction. The kicker on both of them is both of them will not allow demolition of the property in perpetuity. That's the kicker, and both of them have that same restriction on it. And that's the decision. I would like them to just know that this exists, so that they don't 2 years say, you never knew that was, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
All right, Leslie, you draft, rewrite the letter, just edit, essentially going to just edit the one we sent before.
Well, I want to include the one from before, because I want to send it as I want to send it as historical context.
So I have one from before. So do a new cover letter. I can sign it. I can get that in the mail. I'll do that part.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, that's good.
Is that 33 Church Street we're discussing?
No, it's 302. I always forget if it's 302 or 320.
Yeah, it's way up. It's the white. It's the big yellow house, almost close.
Oh, that's the oldest house in Northborough.
Exactly.
1716.
Exactly.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about the yellow one near the Unitarian Church.
No, this is one of the most remarkable houses in town.
Okay,
Yeah.
it's the oldest house in Northborough. I got it.
Yeah.
It was the original meeting house, wasn't it?
They
Yes, they met in their home, right?
And there's underground railroad passageways in it. It's really quite a remarkable place.
All right, so we know what we're doing there. Thank you, Leslie, and just send it to me and I'll get it in the mail. I'll sign it and get it in the mail.
Okay.
All right. The next topic was small projects that you remember we kind of looked at the list last time to see if something tickled somebody's fancy. And Mr. Reardon brought up an interesting thought that ended up in the meeting minutes. You said you identified a Northborough somewhere in the UK. And wondering if
Yes.
you could be like a sister town or something like that.
Yeah, it's near Peterborough, England, which is north of Cambridge.
Would you be willing to try to make a contact with them and see?
Sure. I have quite a few photographs of Northborough, England, actually.
Oh, make sure you somehow get those in front of us at some point.
Yeah, it's got a beautiful Norman style stone church in the middle of town, surrounded by gravestones,
Yeah,
and, thatched roof houses and farmlands. It's quite
Wow.
charming.
it would be pretty cool if we could have them as a sister town. Just
Right.
that's something pretty unique. I'm glad you found that.
Field trip?
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
But won't the committee pay for it?
$500, yeah, we can go a long way.
And it must be
Sure.
Get
ARPA
us
funds
halfway
for
across
this.
the ocean,
Yeah.
then we got to
There
jump.
are, yeah.
And I know, Amanda, you've been talking with the schools, so that's good.
Yeah, a little bit. I haven't done as much as I want, but my daughter's really excited about it. And
Okay,
she's in 5th grade this year, so I want to get it done at least for her class before she graduates. So
so I'm naive here. So 5th grade goes to,
she's going to go to middle school next year,
okay,
and she's at Proctor. So I figured,
Oh,
maybe
yeah,
I'll go to the class and teach them about Fanny Proctor and
all right, yeah.
see what I can do.
That's a great idea, Amanda.
Thank you.
Did anybody have anything on that to-do list that tickled their fancy or given some thought?
Norm, I have a training coming up regarding making communities more accessible. And I thought the historic properties in town are usually the ones that are the least accessible. So I was going to apply this information to starting with historic structures and then go into assembly structures, the ones that are most critical for community use. So it's not exclusively related to historic buildings, but they certainly have some of the greatest accessibility challenges.
I'm not sure what you mean by historic properties being not accessible because.
Well, the older buildings are harder to get into.
Yeah.
And they aren't set up for people with mobility problems or sight problems or hearing problems.
I can now.
Because they're 200-300 years old. So,
Yeah.
so it seems a nice application of that type of training.
All right, so this is something you'll be attending or participating in.
Yeah, it's in, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
let
a-
us know how that
It's
goes.
a 2-day seminar, but it does focus on making older properties more accessible to the public.
It's pretty relevant.
And if you have a historic house and you want to convert it to business use, you're required to make it accessible.
Ah, okay.
Even if you spend under $100,000. So but this has not been enforced on a consistent basis.
Just in general, it hasn't been enforced.
Correct.
All right, yeah, keep us in the loop on that one. That would be informative for sure. Anybody else have anything on that topic? All right, well, look at the list. Keep some mind. We kind of think we should be in a little mode now. We got the big projects. Some of the big projects are done. Maybe it's time to hit some of these little ones. Pick at them. Brian Swanson had prepared his letters of appreciation for some of the antique homeowners. It was 2 that you prepared, right, Brian?
2, yes.
Yes, so we got those out to one was on Pleasant Street, and I think it was the other one was. But Those are out, and Brian just sent me today, I haven't had a chance to look at them, letters of welcome to people who have purchased antique homes over the last year. So he's got, sent me 6 today. I think there's like another 5. It's a
There's,
lot.
I think there's 7 more. They get, I sent you the easier ones that have a regular person buying an old house as opposed to contractors or
Oh,
things being split into duplexes or things that don't show up on the Macris system because they've changed the number because they've made it a duplex. So
I didn't realize, I didn't realize the complexity there.
well, yeah, there's actually one on Hudson Street. It looks like it should be burned down or something. Sorry.
Mhm.
343 Hudson Street. I think that's the one right at the curb.
Yes.
At the curve of Colburn, right?
It's all
Mhm.
boarded up and
Oh, yeah, it's all boarded up. No trespassing signs.
Mm.
Yeah, don't bother with that one, Brian.
I didn't think so.
We don't know where that's going.
Okay.
There were some great plans for that a few years ago, as I recall. I don't know what happened to it. I remember reviewing plans for that, maybe when I was still on the planning board. I mean, it might go back that far. Or maybe it was ZBA. I think it was when I was on ZBA, which was a little later. But they were, yeah, I think that it was a ZBA. So nothing. Yeah, Tom, do you know anything about it?
They did go through design review and they got approval to convert it into a 2-family.
Yeah.
But after they got the approval, they didn't do any work on the building and it's just sat since then. And I think they're going to go before the design review committee tomorrow morning to propose a new duplex building.
Hmm.
I'm also on that meeting for another project, so they're on the agenda for tomorrow morning,
Hmm.
8:30.
All right, so cross that one off the list, Brian.
Yep.
We know what's going on. We may have a demo delay issue coming up. But thanks for doing this, Brian. It seemed like it was straightforward, but as usual with these things. I know the new cemetery signs have ordered and the final design is in place. The DPW's got the marked locations, but they haven't been installed yet. So that's coming around the corner pretty quick. The ground's never froze this year, so I assume as soon as they're built, they're just gonna pop those puppies in. Let you know when they're in. Looking forward to seeing those up and running. All right, the next part of the committee was updates. I'm gonna start with master plan implementation.
That's me.
That's you. So we haven't met for almost 6 weeks because I inadvertently skipped over last month. Just kind of the last time we met, the following day was going to be that evening session with the contractors. So that's all we know officially.
You mean putting the stickers on for the downtown project?
All right. So we don't know anything beyond that. So
Okay.
you can fill us in with.
So that actually went well. We had a really good turnout for that. And it was just really nice to see a lot of responses, a lot of input and feedback. And I think it kind of got people engaged in the process. And this was mainly for the downtown revitalization. They didn't really have anything sticker wise for historic elements. But what happened was the data they collected is what we spoke about at the following meeting, which was, I think, 3 or 4 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago. And it was just nice to see what some of the feedback lent itself to. So we have different areas in town. They divided it up into 4 different areas, and some they are now designating, they'd like to designate as food and, food and event, some as gathering spaces, some as recreation. So it's kind of neat to see what's unfolding.
Bob and I went to that and put stickers here and there.
Yeah.
What did you think, Bob?
Yeah, it was a good meeting.
I thought it was really good. Yeah.
I'm not sure how you're going to digest all that data, though.
But
What's that?
I don't know how you're gonna digest all that data with all the stickers and it was, but
That's what they did.
it was good.
So the one thing that jumped out at me, which surprised me, was there were a lot of, one of the stickers was like green space.
Mhm.
And there were a whole bunch of them along the Assabet River between Main Street and going down to Hudson Street. So
Yep.
that's- Never really realized that it was a green space area. And then I happened to walk by it about 3 days later and realized, oh my God, this is a beautiful piece of property.
Could be nice. Yeah.
Nice. In the back where Harvey is, where they have the storage, you don't even see it from the street for the most part, but the access road to get to them is right along the river. It's all nice and green.
Mm-hmm.
So I was surprised to see something that's I've ignored for some 30 years. Realize
Right.
it's really there.
I mean, I definitely have always felt that that asset has been under capitalized on. Yeah.
So I'm sure a lot of that kind of stuff dropped out when they did the evaluation, but it's stuck there. All right. Is there anything else we want to say about master plan implementation?
We're meeting next week, so hopefully they'll have a little bit more information, and they did sort of set up a step process for us to begin to chip away at.
All right.
Is there gonna be another open meeting?
Yep, there are. I believe, I don't have the date that one's scheduled for, but there are 2 community meetings. We did one. I don't have the date of the next one. And there was also one business one.
Do you know if they'll have another business one?
I haven't heard that they're going to do that, but I hope they do. I think it would be valuable to extend it a bit.
Because I happen to be talking to someone who has business in the center of town and they couldn't make that meeting because of the hour that it was held at.
Right, right. So I hope they might do one in the evening. That would be, I think, something that I would want. I'll double check on that.
All right, CPC, Leslie, give us a rundown on what's exciting with CPC, because the last meeting we had was well before any discussions and decisions were made. Yep, you're muted.
All right. So going from small to big, the sign was approved because it was a small project. A lot of things were, it was the first,
Or yes,
was the library marker. There were more big projects this year than in the past, and more denials than we've had in the past as a result. But the White Cliffs stuff obviously had to go, had to get accepted because that's
oh, the bond.
bond.
Make sure that everybody understands what we're talking about. The bond that has to get paid was accepted. All right.
Yeah, and that bond fulfills a minimum of 10% has to be allocated for historic, which is about $60,000, and the bond more than satisfies that. So, so the bond was approved and the sign was approved, and we deferred put the money in a pot. I'm blanking on it.
The
Like putting it in the reserves. Yeah.
Or the reserves was not approved, correct, yep. And the other historic ones were also, they're not approved, but they probably more, like the better word almost seems to be delayed.
Oh, right. I'm sorry. Yeah. So the Historical Society building, that one was rejected, and the Unitarian Church, I'm blanking on that. That one was also rejected, right?
Yes,
Because they were looking at other funding sources. That sort of seemed like there was some stuff in the works for that. So yeah, so both of those were rejected.
I wouldn't be surprised if in a year or two they come back with more information. All right. Millie, I keep forgetting you're on the planning board. Is there anything, I don't know if I'm kind of getting you off the topic, not off topic, but I've never asked you before, but if there's anything on the planning board that the historical commission should be aware of?
At this time, there is nothing before us. The only one that I had thought had any possible interest was the 301 Bartlett, was for the Native American trail crossing, and that was, you had written something to that about artifacts, not, yeah. And unfortunately, we caught that one after, we didn't really look at that before the plan was submitted.
Yeah, that was Kerry asked myself and Laurie Connors to look up the inventory, the Mass Historical Commission inventory on native artifacts. So
Yeah.
So for the current project that is being reviewed right now, there's been no reported artifacts there.
Mhm.
That's not because anybody looked for them. That's
Right.
that's because, and they could be there, but it's anyway. It's just someone comes across something, it would be very nice if they report.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
All right.
So
Now,
Norm, I have a project at 78 West Main Street, which is a 1890s residence that has been used. It's next to Dunkin' Donuts.
it's like a
Gable to the road.
house.
Yeah, gable to the road with a wrapping porch. So it's between Apex Dental and Dunkin' Donuts on West Main Street.
Hmm.
And, the owner wants to preserve it and convert it from business offices into apartments. So that's going to be going through design review, ZBA, conservation, et cetera. But the owner is committed to preserving a historic structure. And this temple fronted gable to the road style is a very common style in Northborough. And this is one of the better preserved ones in town. And so that's coming up.
I think we actually sent them a letter of appreciation maybe 4 or 5 years ago when they cleaned up the outside and upgraded.
Yep. Well, there's a new owner now.
Mm.
So I'll pass it on.
All right. Now that anytime someone is creative with an old building, it's nice to hear. Demolition is not always the answer. That's the point.
Right.
Glad you're involved with that one, Tom.
Mm-hmm.
Thank
All
you.
right. How about White Cliffs? A lot's been happening. Trying to figure out the best way to start. When we had our last meeting, we had 3 proposals, and it was before we had the 2 proposals that survived the first go round, before we had them in to review their proposals and talk to us about what their plans were. So they did that, and a couple of weeks after, a week or 2 after, we had to make a decision which proposal to go forward with. And I think I sent you all the links to that meeting that was held, because I really want people to know how we discussed and how we thought through the process. In the end, the development, the Metro West Collaborative Development Organization is the one we were proposing to go to the next step. So for those who aren't familiar with it, it has restored the mansion, historically restored the mansion. They do want to put apartments on the 2nd and 3rd floor at this initial proposal. The 1st floor would be available for community use. And then on a new construction, they would be putting an affordable housing project in, which would have, the new construction, I think would have like 49 or 48 apartments. And they would be apartments. Some of them would be 1 bedroom, some 2 bedroom, some 3 bedroom. Some of them will also be improved for full accessibility for handicapped and disabled people. Now, the proposal is not detailed in the sense exactly, put a different way. There's still a lot of questions that have to be answered. And there's still a lot of, and they're good questions and they're good concerns that need to be addressed. My preference is to have those issues addressed with Metro West Collaborative in open forums that they're planning on having. So they're planning to have community forums sooner rather than later. So that's where I'm coming from. There's a petition in town, which a lot of signatures, almost 200 people have signed, and they are requesting that the proposal be immediately dropped, stopped, and not go forward. It does need, for it to go forward, the Board of Selectmen have to say, there's an actual term, let me see if I get that term. What the Metro West is looking for is what they call an options to purchase. It's not a purchase and sales agreement. It's not a signed purchase. It's not a final purchase. It's an option to purchase, which allows them to start spending some time and some money on the effort to get this rolling. My fear is that the Board of Selectmen may turn down the option for purchase. And if they do, that's the end. We're all done. And it's complete. I don't like that idea. I want this to be debated in an open forum with the Metro West people, with the town administration people. I want the questions to be asked, and I want to see what the answers are. And I'm going to give you just 2 examples. One example is, clearly, if that complex goes in, we get a major issue with traffic. What can Metro West Development do to help us get the Department of Transportation to prioritize getting a light and fixing that intersection? That's critical. How can they help us with that? How can they help the abutters? How can they help the abutters with the issues if there's some sound issues or view issues? What can be made to help to put buffers between the property and the abutters? And these are all really good questions. I don't think those questions should be the prerequisite to completely cancel the proposal. I think those are questions that need to be answered and addressed. And then you bring it to town meeting and have the town who voted to save the building, have the town vote to see if this proposal should be accepted or not. I'm pretty adamant on this one.
Yeah.
I want the town to vote the next steps. If it's rejected at town meeting, I can accept that. If it's rejected because the Board of Selectmen don't pass it through, I will be very disappointed. So that's my spiel. If you have any questions, let's discuss them now. I have a letter that I think you've all seen that's to the chairman of the Board of Selectmen, essentially stating that I want them to let it move and be vetted. So that's my opinion. I really want other people's opinion. You don't have to agree with me. I've been talking to people this week who've signed that petition. I'm trying to understand what their reasoning was. I don't agree with some of them, but I can have had some very good conversations. So we can do that here.
So Norm, explain again the option to purchase. That would be something that the selectmen would issue. And that would allow time to get more feedback from Metro West and maybe tweak their proposal.
Without an options to purchase, they will not be able to start the ball rolling. So it's a matter of, they need this for what they call pre-development funding, so they can start working out the details. They need this to start talking to us about what the concerns are and the questions are in the community.
Metro West needs this.
Metro West needs this. Without this, it's dead in the water.
And then what about the expenses? If they do get an option to purchase and then they absorb some expenses, that's on them, right?
Correct. That's all on them. So they don't want to go down the path until at least they know that there's an option to purchase. This property can only be purchased if it passes a town meeting vote. People don't seem to realize that at the end, the town decides if we purchase it, not the White Cliffs Committee. We decided what was the best proposal and to move it forward.
So Metro West understands that they're going to be spending money.
Oh yeah.
And that if it gets rejected in a town meeting, it's done. What are the liabilities for the town under the option to purchase?
Excuse me?
What will the town be doing at this period with the option to purchase?
We will be supporting them with answering their questions. We will be supporting them
Okay.
to have these forums. There's nothing coming out of our pocket for payment.
Okay. And Metro West would be willing to proceed with an option to purchase letter?
Yes.
Do you have a feel for the petition? You said 200 signatures against the project. What was the main complaint?
It's like the 5 people. They're all very different, which is very instructive to me. One individual never wanted us to buy it in the first place. So he says the best RFP is to sell the property and just with no requirement of updating or improving the mansion. Just set it out, just sell it outright, get it off the books. That's one. Another one, the neighbors don't like it. They don't like the affordable housing. They're afraid it might impact the value of their properties. Perfectly good question. There's also, I spoke to one couple and I explained to them what they had signed. They didn't read it. They were embarrassed that they signed it, and they're writing a letter to the Board of Selectmen to say, please remove our names from this. They did not realize, because what is signed, just had it at my fingertips. This is the sentence that they signed. They're petitioning the Board of Selectmen to disband the White Cliffs Committee. Sure, it doesn't matter because our job is done. And table the recent approval of the Metro West Collaborative. So they want it stopped. And when I explained to them, you realize this means it's done. It's you know, the project, there's no more pursuing this project. Someone else I spoke to listed, I had a very great email from someone with all of their concerns. And I responded to them. I said, these are the concerns I have. They're all legitimate concerns, but the document you signed said that this is over. There's no, don't even bother with your concerns because the project's done. And they were surprised by that. They didn't realize what the wording on the petition is.
So I don't even understand what the effect of the petition would have.
Oh,
Stop. We have a building that we have to do something with. So
Yeah.
I don't understand what.
This is where, this is my understanding of the petition. When you have a petition for 200 and you send it to the Board of Selectmen, they sit up and they take notice, right? And that's where it is right now. That's the Board of Selectmen. This is front and center with them right now. And they've got 200 people that don't want it to be pursued.
Right, but let's say that petition is accepted. What does that mean? I don't even understand what that means. The project doesn't go anywhere. What does that mean?
The project's
We own the building.
this
It means we just keep it forever the way it is.
This proposal is dead in the water. That's what it means. Go to step 2. I don't know what plan B is, but this is what it means.
Well,
So-
plan B is $75,000 to $100,000 of maintenance and carrying costs per year. A building that has glazing is compromised. They don't replace the glass. They put up a sheet of plywood. The sills are rotting. Once the sills rot, the walls rot. You don't have any separation of the humidity in the basement coming up into the main building. The chimneys you have one failure, the others are compromised. So entropy is going to take over and do its work unless there's a massive infusion of cash. So if the preservation with affordable housing doesn't go through, you know, you're going to have a white elephant, not White Cliffs.
So just out of curiosity, because Norm, I'm a little bit, I'm on the fence about this letter to the Board of Selectmen, but I'm just curious when the RFP was written, what involvement did the White Cliffs Committee have in writing that RFP?
We reviewed it before it went out. So that was our involvement. We had interaction, it was primarily written by the consultant and the town administrator. I wouldn't know how to write an RFP for a town property. So we reviewed it and had questions on it. That was our role. Now, Millie, I don't want to put you on the spot, and I don't want to, because I know you're on the planning board, and I except if you want to pass over on this on this particular letter. I understand that you could do that. That's
Yeah, I just have some concerns about being on, you know, putting my name on that says I support this, but also, or yes or no. But I also just had some questions. I felt, I'll be honest with you, I felt that the RFP didn't really, in itself, didn't really reflect the type of interest that might have. Yeah, I'll be honest, there's not a lot of people that would be interested in this, but I didn't feel like the RFP was reflective of what we might, as a town, would have wanted. And I felt that it was out for such a short period of time that it really didn't allow a lot of people to, not that there's going to be a ton, but I think that that in itself could have been an issue with why we didn't get either fully formed responses or adequate ones. That was my concern with that.
Could I address that?
Sure, yeah,
The,
right. Tom was also on the committee. Thank you, Tom.
Yeah,
yes,
yeah.
I was on the White Cliffs committee as well. Kirk and Company, with Brent Pelletier, he really worked the avenues of restoration, preservation, hospitality, multifamily, all the options that were identified by the earlier consultants. And he worked quite diligently, spreading the word informally and formally. And I thought he was very aggressive. He got a lot of positive feedback. We had several people come to the initial meeting, but we had a disappointing turnout in terms of responses with RFPs. So
Right.
we've owned the property for 6 years. The trees have been shaken. Norm's been doing it for years, trying to solicit restaurateurs and so forth. COVID really suppressed hospitality, and that could be a factor.
Mhm.
They're having hard times getting, as you know, Millie, getting people to work in restaurants and so forth. So
Yeah,
I think there's not a lot of interest in spending $6 to $10 million to restore a building in hard times. So that,
I don't disagree with you on all of that. My only thought is, yes, hospitality has definitely took a beating, but I can tell you event spaces are definitely at their max. And in my mind, this was an event space, but yeah, it's just,
It's interesting you say that, Millie, because I have had conversations with event-based people, and they felt that the mansion is not a future event space. They were very down on it, and these are people that do events all over the area.
mm,
And mansions are not of interest anymore to people like barns, people like other things.
yeah,
I'm just telling you, and I've talked to good half a dozen restaurants, high-end restaurant companies, and I've also contacted, caterers and the like that try to understand that market. And they clearly were that those grounds were of no interest whatsoever, not with the dollars they have to put in for restoration.
yeah. and
I would have loved, I know what I would have loved there, but the fact of the matter is, it's not happening. And the immediate concern I have now is if this gets killed, and it could get, it could be brought to town meeting and fail. And like I said, I'm willing to accept that. But if it doesn't get to town meeting, I'd be really disappointed. And there is no plan B right now. And I'm anxious to hear, well, let me finish off with the people I've spoke to, because it's just two more comments I had to make on that. So there are people that want to vote it down, to kill it, because it's not the right plan. There's also a population of people who want to vote it down because they don't give a care about the mansion and just get it off the town's books. And it's interesting to find that there's two people that will vote the same for absolutely totally different reasons. And when we voted originally in 2016, there was a good amount of concern that this could be a white elephant. And unless this program goes through with this proposal, I agree with Tom, it will sit and rot. And, it took us I've been over 9 years involved with this building. And I would hate to see it get worse. And I I don't know where this money's gonna come from if someone has a plan B. Anyway, so
I mean, so the Board of Selectmen is gonna see this on April, when do they see?
Monday night.
Monday night, I need to get it. The reason we're meeting tonight is I need to get it in their package tonight.
Mhm.
Be in their package for Monday night.
So there really wouldn't be any chance to start any community outreach or forums or discussions before town meeting anyways on this, so people would be voting on this.
No, this is not this coming town meeting. It's not on the warrant for this town meeting. This would be a town meeting down in the fall, a special town meeting.
Oh, okay.
We've got time here. And if you look at the proposal in detail, they would not be able to start construction to 2024 at the earliest, most likely 2025. So there's no reason to kill it now. Let's work the system and see, in my opinion.
Now, Norm, if Metro West gets the option to purchase,
Yep.
are they gonna do any work on the building itself just to
No construction. This is so they can
nothing?
go along and doing design work and meet with us and talk to stuff. Yeah,
So it's just gonna sit for another 2 years, basically?
that's it. And we
Okay.
talked to DPW to make sure there's a budget available for the next 2 years to make sure we keep the carrying cost available so we can and fix a surprise. You know, we never, when the town committed to the purchase back in 2016, it included the price of the building and about 600 or 700, I think $600,000 for carrying cost. And I wish we would have used a different word, to preserve the building, not to restore the building. Preserve it from weather. So we put a new roof on, we covered up the windows. We weren't replacing the windows. We just kind of keep the rain out. So there was a lot of preservation work done, but people seem to think preservation is restoration, and those two things are totally different. We never budgeted for any restoration. It's always to keep the building from decay.
Getting worse, yeah.
Metro West raised an issue in there. I reread their proposal, and they talked about the zoning issue for low-cost housing. And I think the way they explained it was currently it's not zoned for multifamily housing,
Correct.
but that because it's going to be low-income housing, that it's easy to get it. It's easy to get an override from the state, I believe.
40B.
Because I'm not an expert on these quirks on zoning and affordable housing, but they can buck the system a little bit, and I don't know how that works exactly.
So they seem
They
pretty
would apply
confident
for a
that there would be
40B.
no problem.
Thank you, Tom. You would know better. Thank you.
So there's a mechanism called 40B, which allows the developer to override or set aside the local bylaws if it is affordable housing. And the site is currently in 2 zones, residential C and business east. So it's a split zone. There was a proposal before the planning board, an article to go before town meeting to make it all 1 zone, but I believe they've removed that as of last night.
They did.
So we now have, it doesn't affect Metro West because they were going to use what they call a friendly 40B, where they work with the local boards and community to get a project that is acceptable.
There's a lot of work with this proposal. There's a lot of work that has to be done getting it through the town anyway. And the zone ZBA is one of those hurdles. And if these, you know, and these are all done well in advance of any town meeting. Anyway, so anybody else have any questions that we could try to address? So now, if there aren't any, you saw the letter, the draft of the letter, make any changes anybody wants. The basic concept is, please, Board of Selectmen, do not kill it now. It's too.
Yeah.
I'm not fighting for the proposal. I'm fighting to get the proposal properly vetted.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'm not sure how to do this. I'm not sure I want to have a vote to determine whose name goes on that letter, we could do that. Or we could just by consensus say we would do it. But Millie, I want to factor in your situation. I don't want your name on there if you don't think you should put your name on there. So in that case, I might want to put the names of the people who are for this letter on it. If that's acceptable.
And I think that makes sense because, and also, the wording of it is not as clear that you're not really, you're supporting the movement of the proposal, but not necessarily endorsing the proposal.
And I did that intentionally, Millie, because if I
Right.
look, if I look at the very relevant questions that are being asked, I don't feel comfortable asking anybody on this committee to vote for the proposal. Because why should they vote if they don't know the answers to the critical questions? That's why I'm
Right.
wording it to not let this thing go through and get vetted properly.
And is there a way that you could put that in a sentence and say, to be clear, this is not an endorsement of the proposal itself?
Yeah.
Because oftentimes what happens is committees who agree to something are then somewhat held to saying, oh, well, they've endorsed it, which might not be the same thing.
And in this case, I don't want it to be the same thing. I want it to be clear. So if you're requesting that I put add a sentence in that clarifies that this is not I don't want to say it's not an endorsement of the proposal, but it's not that. I'm trying to figure out how to word that properly.
Well, your last sentence seems to be pretty clear in that you want the Board of Selectmen to agree to the options so that the vetting can occur. And that's pretty clear. That's not an endorsement or not either way. It's just you want the vetting to start.
Mm-hmm.
As I'm looking at the letter on my screen right now. Can you think of a word or two that might just make that clearer? I thought it was clear, but I appreciate Millie, your comment.
I mean, yeah, it's clear that you want them to continue vetting the proposal. But I guess there isn't a statement that says, to be clear, this is not an endorsement of the proposal itself.
Or it's not an endorsement of either accepting or declining the proposal.
Exactly. Okay.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Thank you, Tom. I appreciate that.
All right, Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
I'm an old English teacher, you know?
So this is not an endorsement. Please help me out on the right word.
Well,
You
you
really-
want to say it's
you really
neither
were
an
an English teacher?
endorsement nor a rejection of the proposal. That's pretty simple.
To get you a copy of the book Anguished English, Tom.
So I have it as, this is not an endorsement or rejection of the proposal. Is that what okay. Does everybody feel comfortable with that added sentence?
It should be neither nor, but yes.
Neither nor, neither nor.
I was not an English teacher, but apparently I wish I had.
So what do you want me to say? I want to be clear. So
Let's go with Leslie's neither nor.
this is not,
This is neither.
I want neither.
No, this isn't it. This is
This is neither a rejection nor acceptance of proposal.
Shouldn't we say neither an acceptance or rejection? Because it is,
Leslie, please send me that sentence in an email.
I don't know. I don't know what it is.
'Cause,
Tom,
right
Tom,
now
what-
it's turned into a mess. So I'd rather have a professional.
Yeah, Tom, I don't remember. I wasn't taking note of what exactly it was saying. Just I noticed the neither nor or neither nor would.
Please do that for me so I can get it. So we're going to add one sentence that's going to supposedly going to clarify the letter. And so how do you want to proceed from there? I want to know how to sign it. I can't sign my name to it because that's not right. I need to have something in there that says some of us agreed and some of them, Millie, I think the right word is abstain, right?
I have no objection to having my name as an alternate signed to this.
Okay,
I put in my name,
that was,
Brian
okay,
Brian Smith.
Smith.
A voting member.
yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I'm gonna, obviously I'll have my name. Does anybody else feel comfortable with their name on the letter?
Yeah,
I'd like my name.
Yeah.
Yep.
You can put my name,
Good.
Norm.
Got Amanda, I got Leslie. I got
And
Bob,
me.
and Mr. Swanson, how do you
Yep.
feel?
I'll agree to it.
Okay, so I'll do, and we didn't vote on this. I'll just put that we, because Tom's not a voting member, but I'll just put the committee members agreed that this is fine. And I'll
The
just.
yeah.
Best thing,
So you can say something like the undersigned committee
Yeah.
members.
that'll work.
Just just for clarification, I know there was disappointment that we only had 3 proposals
Yes,
and one was non-responsive, so it really came down to 2 proposals.
Yep.
And even that the one that was rejected, that was in a way non-responsive too. Has anyone mentioned or has anyone considered to go out for RFPs again?
oh yeah, go on Facebook,
Okay,
but it's not an easy thing. So.
no, I
And
know.
I don't think there's an appreciation what that involves. It's not just, it's not like, okay, we'll just send them out tomorrow and we're done with it.
Well, but is that a consideration for the Board of Selectmen? Instead of, if they didn't offer the option to purchase,
They've
would they
got
go out?
they have people telling them this, all of these options.
are there legal
Okay.
implications for doing that since they've already?
Not a lawyer. I don't know how, so like I said, there's a group of people that think we should do it again. There's a group of people that just want to understand it more, and there's a group of people that are going to be very vocal pretty soon that says, why are we doing any of this? Just sell the damn thing. So Millie, so I'll just leave your name off. Is that the right thing to do?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Maybe put you in a bit of a pickle there.
No, it's fine. I'm fine.
Okay. I was always concerned about your role because you wear multiple hats. Some very important hats.
I know you asked me for the sentence, but I'm honestly not sure what it was originally to be, to give you a new one. So can we just iron it out quickly here?
I was hoping that would be the case. All right, yes, because I want to get.
I don't know. What was it originally saying? Because I know I just commented on it should be neither nor, but I don't know what the rest of the.
Okay, we're gonna go back to Mr. Reardon, who had the best version of it. Sorry, Tom.
I have such a short-term memory loss here.
Make believe you never heard it before and start over again.
So
We
I
can
guess
listen to the
you want to say
recording.
this is neither a rejection nor an acceptance of the proposal from Metro West.
There you go. Perfect.
I think endorsement rather than acceptance might be better.
Endorsement nor rejection, either one, yeah.
Neither a rejection nor an endorsement of the, all right.
I would put endorsement before rejection. Only because the tone of the letter is that you favor going forward with Metro West.
No, keep in mind, the letter of not favoring Metro West.
I know.
Right. But
You're favoring.
I would add to the end of the sentence and say, but instead a desire or whatever for the process to be seen through town meeting or something like
Yeah.
I
that.
like that.
Yeah.
It's already in there. So we're gonna add this other clarification before
Okay.
the final letter, final sentence. All right, I actually appreciate your guidance on this. I appreciate your support of this next step. Stay tuned because the Board of Selectmen meeting is Monday evening, and I don't know if they're voting or not on that night. I don't think they are, but I wouldn't be surprised if they are. I don't expect them, but I wouldn't be surprised. So, was there anything else? Well, I think I covered everything on the agenda. Anybody want to bring anything else up?
Let me see. Adjournment from the board. Okay.
Oh, I just want to add, Norm, you didn't mention that you gave that great presentation at the Historical Society.
Yeah,
Yeah,
On the
that
historic
was
district.
great.
It was a great presentation.
Oh, yeah.
And went over very well.
thank you, Bob, for that compliment. We try to keep people informed. It was a good crowd that night. Almost failed. They almost didn't get the technology working. That was biting my
Yeah.
neck.
Oh, by the way, I went to the last meeting. They had the speaker about the World War II code breakers. And it was funny because one of the big things in their meeting was that they just bought a new computer. So they could give presentations because you had problems with yours. And they still couldn't get it to work.
Yeah, it's that technology stuff is
Yeah.
when it works, it's so important. I couldn't have given my presentation without the computer. I would have just, I don't know.
Yeah, well, now they have a brand new computer.
All right, they'll work it out. Okay, anything else people can think of? This is a short meeting. This is only an hour. Pretty happy with that. So unless Julianne, you've been quiet all night. Is there anything you want to say about anything?
So at the last meeting, I brought up the Legacy Tree Program. And Norm, you suggested that we reach out to the conservation agent. And then I thought maybe our DPW director, who is actually our tree warden. I think, did I CC you on the email? I reached out to them and haven't heard back.
Oh, from DPW? Yeah, I did see the email.
I guess I'll try again. It would not be nice to know if they just aren't interested or if they, just didn't have time. So it could be a small project.
Yeah, it could be it could be a small project. That's good. That's possible.
But I think that there are some significant trees in town, and the way it was described, any kind of historical committee can kind of take it on. So I'll follow up.
All right, that'd be good. That'd be good. Unless you want to spend more time together this evening, we probably need a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn the meeting.
Second,
All right. We'll see if we're all in favor of this one. Bob,
Aye.
Mr. Swanson,
Yes.
Leslie,
Yes.
Amanda,
Yes.
Mr. Smith,
yes.
Lily.
Yes.
All right, and I say goodbye. So thank